Tennessee picks up a commitment in Tyron Evans. What do we make of this commitment? I got to be honest with you. This one surprises me a little bit. 6'3", 170 pounds. He is listed, well, not that incredibly high. He's a wide receiver. He's listed as the 83rd overall wide receiver. 78th overall wide receiver, according to Vols 24/7's composite, 24th in North Carolina, 508 in the nation. What do you make of Tyron Evans? And I'll give you my one redeeming quality to this commitment. It's not to say that I'm saying that Josh Heupel doesn't have talent. It's not to say that they extended the bad offer. I don't see a lot of star power out of this guy. So I immediately scratch my head. But there is one aspect of his recruitment that I think is very, very pertinent. But first, let me start with you. What do you make of the Tyron Evans commitment?
I think he's just a body. I think this is not a type of guy that if this were pre-transfer portal era that they would have gone after. I think there was one specific reason. I think Tennessee is trying to, well, you know what? You give me your reason first, because I think we may be seeing the same thing. So I want to know your thoughts first. I don't want to take your point.
The C word, Charlotte. The C word, Charlotte. You take a guy like this, he's 2026. So we're not talking about a guy that's going to come in the next couple of weeks or this summer. So he's 2026. He's 170 pounds. He's 6'3". If he puts on 20 pounds, which is quite possible, and he's out of Charlotte because of Tennessee's ties there and what they want to build there, I'm completely okay with that. But if he shows up to campus at 6'3", 170 pounds, and is still rated after his senior year or midway through his senior year, listen, this is one of those this is a motivational scholarship, Caleb. Have I used that term with you before?
You have not.
Okay. So nowadays, what people used to do, they used to give silent scholarships. Okay. And they weren't necessarily committable, but you were technically committed quietly. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, it does.
The reason they did that is because you could go to, let's say, Bob. You could go to Bob and you could say, Bob, we told you needed to put on 20 pounds. That's why we didn't make this a public commitment. You didn't put on 20 pounds. I'm sorry, Bob, but Tennessee is not the right place for you. Nowadays, you don't have to do that. You can offer a Bob. I don't want to rip Tyron Evans, okay? But you can offer a Bob, and because of the transfer portal and the way that recruiting is viewed differently because of the transfer portal, you can go back and say, Bob, it just didn't work out, buddy. And I'm sorry, but you're out. And it can be a public commitment, and you don't face any PR backlash, Caleb. That's the big difference. That's what's changed dramatically in recruiting. So much like free agency in the NFL, you can go to a guy and say, if you don't pass your physical, I'm not signing you to this contract. You can do that now in recruiting. It's more like free agency than I ever would have dreamed.
All right, I'm going to take it a step further. You ready for where I'm going to take it, Dave?
I'm ready. I'm just going to say if Tyron Evans isn't 185 pounds by the time he signs, he shouldn't be allowed to sign a scholarship.
I think this is absolutely solely they're taking a shot in the dark. You're right about that. But this is absolutely
shot in the dark's a little strong. What if he can fly?
Here's what this is about.
Okay.
They're absolutely solely 100%, 1000% getting this kid because they are trying to reestablish a pipeline in North Carolina and affirm that pipeline in North Carolina because of Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick?
He's at the Tar Heels.
Wait, but they didn't do that specifically because of Bill Belichick.
I think they're going to take some lesser players from North Carolina right now just to keep them away from the Tar Heels because they want to make sure that it's very clear that North Carolina is their place to recruit. And they are trying to ice out Bill Belichick, who is, by being at North Carolina now, is going to recruit well at North Carolina just by his name. So I think they are trying to ice out Bill Belichick as much as possible. And I think they see him as a legitimate threat. So they're going to take anybody of substance they can get out of North Carolina right now just to establish that pipeline. And maybe it'll help them get some other teammates of these kids out of North Carolina. I mean, Faison Brandon's out of North Carolina too. So, this is a big get. David Sanders is out of North Carolina. They are doing this to let it be known we are recruiting North Carolina heavily and we are staying in North Carolina, Bill.
Okay. But let me ask you this. Who are the coaches in the Carolinas? Doran, Dabo, Belichick.
Beamer. Old Beamer ball.
Okay. Beamer.
Jake Dickert, who just replaced Dave Clawson at Wake Forest.
Beamer, Clawson.
No, Jake Dickert. Dickert replaced Clawson.
Oh, Dickert. Okay. So out of that group, do you really think they're more concerned about Bill Belichick than everybody else?
And then Manny Diaz at Duke, by the way, too. Yes, I think they're more concerned about Belichick than everybody else. I think that I absolutely think they're more concerned about Belichick than everybody else. I think a lot of people are more concerned. We don't know how good Bill Belichick's going to do with this experiment at North Carolina, but I think Tennessee is trying to make the point of we're not going to let it they really don't want to mess anything up. How about that? And I think they're very concerned that they might
mess anything up. We have flirted with all kinds of bad words on the program today. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yes.
We haven't said them. Work Truck's all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down space to carry. You okay there? The perfect work vehicle does. We got a mute button. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips. Trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for Work Trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app-hod work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks supplies vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road tomorrow in a dealership run around. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks, and that's a fact. Service industry, Work Trucks. Work Trucks carries the trucks that your business has to have. You need Work Trucks. Clinton Highway in Knoxville, downtown Birmingham, for the entire inventory. Go online, worktrucksllc.com, worktrucksllc.com with an X. Work Trucks, proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. They'll have the perfect truck outfitted. Make sure it fits your needs to a T. Let me ask you this quickly before we move on, and we're going to visit with Jacob Warren here very shortly. Are we past the point that Tennessee has 5 commitments in Faison Brandon, the quarterback, wide receiver Tyreek King, interior offensive lineman Brandon Anderson, Carson Sneed, the tight end, now Tyron Evans out of wide receiver, Tyson Bacon, defensive line, and Braylon Outlaw at linebacker. Great name. I just ask you this. Are we to the point where we can say that Josh Heupel's recruiting is no longer a concern? Because that was concern number one when he was hired. Are you to the point where you can say, I'm not concerned about that anymore, or I am concerned, or I got to wait and see?
I got a hot take.
Hot take me.
Josh Heupel's system is more of a concern now than his recruiting, because there's a legitimate question on whether or not this offensive system has been figured out. I keep telling you guys this past year, Dave, it's not a coincidence that Lincoln Riley struggled. Josh Heupel's offense took a dip even with Nico Iamaleava. Jeff Levy couldn't get off the ground at Mississippi State. They all run a variation of what we call the veer and shoot, which is just the air raid with veer principles. Is that concept being figured out? Our defense is ahead of the curve on it, largely because, let's be honest, here, let's take it another step further. Is it possible to run this offense with the way players can fake injuries? Because they can slow the tempo down. And can Josh Heupel's offense work without tempo?
That's not my greatest concern. My greatest concern is people continue to get lighter and lighter and lighter. You don't even have you don't have a weak side linebacker anymore, right?
No, you don't.
I think they're adding more and more speed. I think that's a concern. I mean, let's be real
It's
honest.
the reason you just had in the NFL a 2,000-yard rusher and a 1,900-yard rusher.
Yeah, and I told you that touchdown pass way back in September. I told you touchdown passes were up by like 20%. I'm sorry, touchdown passes were down by 20%. I think that's the direction football is going. I think there's ebbs and flows. You go from 3 to 4 to 4 and 3. You go to running and passing, and I think that's the direction football is going to go. But I have more confidence in Josh Heupel than maybe you do after I saw what he did with the 12 personnel.